The Golden State Warriors star is no stranger to controversy, and this time he's making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Whether it's his fiery personality, his trash talk, or his on-court antics, Draymond always finds a way to stay in the spotlight. But this latest situation, it might just be one of his worst looks yet. Draymond recently made some eyebrow-raising comments about Karl-Anthony Towns, and let's just say NBA fans and analysts are not happy. His response to Cat absence has been slammed as tone-deaf, disrespectful, and even completely out of line. Some are calling it classic Draymond, just another example of him speaking his mind without thinking, but others, they think he crossed a serious line this time. So, what exactly did Draymond say? Why are so many people upset? And is there any truth to what he's saying, or is this just another case of Draymond being Draymond? Let's break it all down. So here's what went down. Karl-Anthony Towns was absent from Wednesday's game against the Warriors due to what was officially listed as personal reasons. No further details were given, and usually when a player misses a game for personal reasons, it's respected and no questions asked. But Draymond? Oh, he wasn't buying it for a second. Instead of taking the report at face value, Draymond threw some serious shade during his podcast, The Draymond Green Show with Baron Davis. He didn't just speculate. He flat out implied that Towns was ducking the game. And why? Because of one man, Jimmy Butler.
Didn't play because Jimmy was in the building. I don't know.
Now, if you've been following the NBA over the past few years, you know exactly why this comment is making waves. The history between Butler and Cat isn't just any old rivalry. It's one of the most infamous player clashes in recent memory. Remember that legendary practice session back in 2018? Jimmy Butler walked into the Timberwolves facility, took a bunch of third stringers, and dominated the starters, including Karl-Anthony Towns. He called out Cat right to his face, called him soft, and then forced his way out of Minnesota shortly after. That moment defined Cat's reputation for years, and Butler's words have followed him around ever since. So, on the surface, Draymond's comment might seem like harmless NBA trash talk, something you'd expect from a guy who thrives on stirring the pot. But when you dig a little deeper, it starts to feel a lot more personal. Draymond didn't just take a shot at Towns' game, he took a shot at his mentality, and for a player who has spent years trying to shed that soft label, that's a pretty brutal accusation. But here's where things take a heartbreaking turn. While the internet was busy debating Draymond's comments and questioning Karl-Anthony Towns' toughness, the real story was something far more tragic. Towns wasn't skipping the game because he was afraid to face Jimmy Butler. He wasn't avoiding the moment or running from competition. In reality, he was grieving a devastating loss. His longtime girlfriend, Jordan Woods, and he had just lost a close friend, Sarah Holtzman, after her courageous battle with cancer. Instead of suiting up for an NBA game, Cat was attending a funeral, mourning someone who meant a lot to him and his loved ones. He needed time away from basketball to support those closest to him, to process the loss, and to be there for the people who mattered most. And let's be real, anyone in his shoes would have done the same. Losing someone to cancer is heartbreaking, and grief doesn't operate on a schedule. It's not something you can just push aside for the sake of a basketball game. So once Draymond found out he was wrong, once he realized that his hot take was actually a massive misstep, did he take accountability? Did he own up to it? Did he offer a real, meaningful apology? Well, let's take a look at what he actually said.
Had a funeral for a family friend.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Send my well wishes to him and his family. Never wish that on anybody, but the Draymond Green Show with Baron Davis must go on.
Yeah, that did not sit well with NBA fans. The moment that clip hit the internet, the backlash was immediate. People were calling it insanely tone-deaf, disrespectful, and even one of the worst apologies ever. Instead of just saying, "Hey, I was wrong, my bad," Draymond barely acknowledged the situation before casually plugging his podcast again. No real remorse, no accountability, just business as usual for Draymond Green. And let's be honest, this isn't the first time Draymond's words have landed him in hot water, whether it's trash-talking opponents, calling out teammates, or stirring up drama on his podcast. He's built a reputation for being outspoken. But this wasn't just another case of Draymond being Draymond. This was a moment where a simple, sincere apology could have gone a long way, and instead, he fumbled it completely. And it wasn't just the fans who had a problem with it. NBA analysts, former players, and media personalities were just as shocked by Draymond's response. Stephen A. Smith, who's usually a guy that defends players speaking their minds, even went off about it. Smith wasn't alone either. Other analysts, from Shannon Sharpe to Charles Barkley, all had the same reaction. Draymond completely missed the mark. They weren't questioning his right to have an opinion, but they were questioning his judgment and lack of basic empathy. And even fellow players are side-eyeing Draymond for this one, because in sports there's an unwritten rule: no matter how competitive you are, no matter how much you talk trash when it comes to personal tragedy, show some respect. At the end of the day, this wasn't about basketball, it wasn't about rivalries, it was about basic human decency. And Draymond, in this moment, failed that test. Let's be real, this isn't the first time Draymond has stirred up controversy. In fact, it's almost become part of his brand. From on-court altercations to off-court drama, the Warriors forward has made a career out of playing the villain. Just last season, he got himself suspended for putting Rudy Gobert in a headlock mid-game, a move so wild that even Draymond defenders had a hard time justifying it. And before that, well, who could forget the infamous Jordan Poole incident? From kicking Steven Adams where the sun doesn't shine to his long-running feud with LeBron, Draymond has always walked that fine line between competitive and crossing the line. But this time, this wasn't just trash talk. This was questioning a man's integrity while he was grieving a personal loss. So the real question is, was this just another Draymond being Draymond moment, or did he finally go too far? At the end of the day, talking trash is part of the game. It hypes up rivalries, fuels competition, and makes the NBA even more entertaining. But there's a line, and when someone's dealing with the loss of a loved one, maybe, just maybe, it's time to show a little more class. Draymond had a golden opportunity to make things right, to simply say, "I got that one wrong, my bad." Instead, he brushed it off and kept it moving as if nothing happened, and that's what's got fans, analysts, and even other players calling him out. So now, we turn it over to you. What you think? Was Draymond's response out of line? Should he issue a real apology, or is this just part of his persona at this point? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're loving the NBA coverage, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth analysis. Until next time, peace.